Hi, I'm Becca.
I'm Rachel.
And we are starting this YouTube channel to share our stories with you guys and to bring mental health awareness and to share our journeys and our travels and just our friendship with you guys. So I hope that you have followed us over from Facebook. And if not, I am so excited that you found us on YouTube. And I hope that you guys enjoy. We wanted to take this time to tell a more in-depth story of the journey that we just took this weekend. And some of you guys followed us along on Facebook with our stories and updates. And I hope that we can elaborate and give you guys some clarity and also just kind of share our journey with you guys.
The issue that I see is I am not going to suddenly decide that the lifestyle that you have chosen, I have chosen a lifestyle and a husband. You have chosen a lifestyle and a girlfriend. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to suddenly decide I'm hunky-dory with that. I don't even know what to say.
You're not hunky-dory?
I don't know what's more cringe, my mom's homophobia or her use of the term hunky-dory.
Yeah.
It's both.
Yeah.
That in a nutshell is basically how seeing my mom went. It was not hunky-dory. My mom thinks of herself as someone who's kind of above everybody else. And it's because she low-key thinks that she's below everybody else. Yeah. And it's very obvious, but she doesn't know that. The first thing my mom said to me when she saw me was, "Oh my God, you straightened it and you dyed it blue. I don't think I like it."
Good thing after 6 years.
After 6 years of not seeing me. No hi. No. How was the drive? So glad you're here. It's, your hair is awful. And then she just kind of proceeded to tell me that the rest of me was awful the entire time.
If you say to me, like, hey, there's this thing that I don't want to talk about, but it's such a big part of my life, I don't know how to call you up and tell you, and, like, do I have to, tiptoe? Because now I'm going to cut out very important chunks of the story, and it's going to be like I'm telling you a story, and the story is Swiss cheese, and it's going to make no sense.
I don't know. I would say in some ways tiptoeing is a pretty good thing until you figure out what the limit is. Who says that to their daughter? Who in their right mind is like, oh, you're going to call me? Well, for my personal comfort level,
you shouldn't say anything.
You can't say, the things that matter to you.
I have questions that I guess I was never, I was too ignorant to ask, and because everyone in this family wants to sweep everything under the rug, I think a lot of times I'm seen as the dramatic person for being like, no.
I don't know that we just want to sweep everything under the rug, but
you have a whole new life now.
Yes, I do.
But here's the thing. What you've essentially done is made the people whose fault it wasn't that you were miserable feel like they don't have room in this new and improved life.
So, my parents got married, and then they had my sister, and then they had me. I was kind of a mistake. I wasn't planned.
In the middle?
Yeah, Josh was also a mistake.
Oh, okay. As long as you both were.
We were both mistakes. And I was always treated differently than my siblings. I was always the scapegoat of the family, and it didn't matter what was going on. It became, if you were in a bad mood, go find Rachel, have her do something stupid, yell for 6 hours. At least for the time that I lived with my parents, which was only up until I was 15, and then I moved in with my grandparents, my mom would leave every couple of years. The fighting between my dad and I would get so bad and so escalated, and it would come more often, and she would tell me that she was protecting me and she was tired of the way that he treated me, and she would leave. And 9 times out of 10, she would go to my grandparents' house. My dad would change for a while, and she would get back with him. And when I was growing up, I thought that this was the best case scenario. My family was back together. Both parents were good. And I finally could have 2 parents that loved me, since my dad was changed. He was different. He was finally going to be that parent that he was always supposed to be. And I felt safe because I trusted my mom to make that decision, as kids are supposed to trust their parents. So I went back, and I was just happy that I had a family. And then 2 months later, everything would just go back to the way that it was before, and everything would be my fault, and everything was just awful. And so finally, we moved to Arkansas, and my grandparents came down, and I ended up moving in with them because the abuse got so bad. It got so escalated. Nothing was changing. Nothing was making it better. And I had this hero complex for my mom for so many years. And it took me a long time to look back and realize that while my dad is the main person causing me harm, my mom's just as bad for leading me back to it, always taking me back to it, not valuing me enough to get me out of the situation permanently. She always put her trust in the wrong thing and in the wrong person, and so desperately wanted the family that she had created that she was willing to put me in danger over and over and over until they eventually did get divorced. But now she's remarried and she has this new family, and it's just kind of me feeling very rejected now by both parents because I don't have a spot in her new family, her new and improved family.
I remember when we lived in Michigan in the trailer on the golf course.
The green one with the
What?
carport.
Yeah, they're really nice. I lived in a really nice area, and I remember when it was nice outside, I would go in and I would raise all the windows in that trailer. And then it seemed like as soon as I raised him, within 20 or 30 minutes, he would be screaming, just absolutely screaming. And I would go back through and I would shut all the windows in hopes that the whole neighborhood didn't know what was going on all of the time. And I told Lawrence, I said, most of the time he was screaming at Rachel. I said, and she didn't deserve it. You are a bouncy little girl. You're a beautiful little girl with your, and you, gosh, you talk to the girls at the drive-through window. You talked to everybody, and you had a wonderful personality, and he resented you from the day you were born. What else I told him though was, I said, for the most part, at that point in our life, he was a good dad to Josh, and he was a good dad to Bethany. And I really struggled with, do I pull myself and all 3 kids away from this guy who's a good dad to 2 of the kids and is a bad dad to 1 of the kids? How do you solve this problem?
So when I hear that, what I essentially hear is we had a good thing going and you were ruining it. You did not have a place here, and we were successful in letting you know every day. It's the growing up, knowing that you're not wanted, knowing that you're not valued, and struggling to find a place where you don't have one in a family that you can't get out of. The pain now comes from the fact that she has no regrets. Yeah. She maintains that she doesn't know if she could have done anything better. So it's going to your mom and trying to salvage a relationship or create a new one, and it's kind of like, hey mom, do you want to get to know me? And she's like, you still suck. I still don't want you. You still weren't important, and I don't regret it. I still view the situation the same way. I still view you as, well, he wasn't good to you, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad, right? And so if we can just get over everything you had to endure, then life is good. And because I'm so unwilling to be silent, I'm outcasted even more than I already was.
I just don't think that anyone turned around ever and said, what is she gonna look like as an adult? How are the decisions? And it's not just you. Like I said, I plan on having conversations with Dad as well. But did anybody ever stop and think, like, how this is gonna negatively impact her future? How is this gonna negatively impact, like, her relationship, not only with herself, but with her husband or wife?
And it has negatively impacted my relationship with my girlfriend, my relationship with friends, my relationship with myself. Why should I value myself based off the example that I was given? How do you look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself you're important when your family has told you every day for 15 years that you're not? How do you rebuild yourself? And it's difficult, and you can't do it alone. That's why I am so grateful for the people in my life, like Becca, or like my girlfriend, or the friends that I do have. They have to be incredibly patient with me 24/7 because I'm always building. So I need to branch off from my family and learn that the things that I've learned my whole life are lies.
Yeah.
They're wrong. And it's so incredibly hard to do. And so asking my mom, did anybody ever stop and think how this was going to affect me? And having her be like, what do you mean? How is that something that you're just like, no, I never thought about your future? She just has this mentality that she was doing her best. But for who? Because it sure wasn't for me.
Or like picking and choosing what parts of the Bible you believe in. Because, the first and foremost commandment, like, they'll know that we are Christians by our love. But there's no love in this family. Not there's love in this family, but there's no love in this other family because you and Dad didn't work out. So how I feel is that you've basically been like, okay, fuck all of you, I'm gonna go be happy over here. And if you guys don't like anything that I'm doing, even though I'm going back on a lot of things I said, then you guys are just judgy and just don't bring me down. Kind of like this bitchy, like, you're dead weight, I left you, don't try to come back now, I'm good kind of mentality. And then the fact that I'm a lesbian on top of it is just this cherry that I feel like gets used. And like, I don't know, even if I wasn't gay, there would still be all of this like unreconcilable hurt and anger and frustration that I just walk around with and don't know what to do with.
So my mom's a very religious woman, but she is a very judgmental woman, a very insecure woman, a very prideful woman. And my mom really appreciates the opportunity to pick and choose what she believes in, when she believes it. If I can pull this verse out of context and slap it on your face to be right, then I'm right. And I have Jesus backing me up, so what chance do you have? And it's the realization that you just have to be like, okay, you win. She will not admit to having any blame on herself. And I was a kid. What was I supposed to do? She tells me that if I have anything to do with my dad, then I am poison. And what the truth became is that because I am my father's daughter, I'm poisonous. And there's nothing I can do about it. Whether I'm gay or straight, drink, don't drink, very religious. I'm not religious at all. I can't get above who
Your
my genetics come from. You can't argue with that. And that's, if I was to argue, if I was to try to stay in her life after this, it would disrespect myself.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. And I didn't pick that. And so now it's just the processing and the healing of, you didn't have a mom, but you had a question mark. Now you have a period. And
but I mean, at least that's closure. It's better than a question mark.
Definitely closure. Definitely chapters closed. It's just not the book that I wanted.
I get that. But you get to write a better book.
I get to write a better book. But now I have to learn to let go. And I have to learn that if they don't think I'm important, that's okay. I think that I'm important. And that sounds so cliche, but it's true. You have to rewire your brain. You have to understand that for some reason, the people that were supposed to love you just don't. And it's not a reflection of you. It's not a reflection of me that my parents are terrible humans.
There's no other way to say it.
No, I can't sugarcoat that.
Yeah.
It's not my fault. Mm-mm. I'm not a terrible human. So it's
obviously not genetic.
So, yeah. But I guess I just move on now.
Yeah. So with my dad, my main hurts or things that I was kind of going on the trip to find resolution to were feeling unchosen, feeling like, the chapter of his life that involved me ended, and then he got married, and that chapter started, and it was kind of like this chapter was done. Like, not knowing, like, what role to take on, who to be in the situation. And that on top of just, like, so when my parents got divorced, my dad spent a year kind of manipulating me into believing that my mom was a horrible person. And I knew that they were separating a year before he left. And so as a 13-year-old kid, I had to hold that secret for him. And through all the manipulation, I was put in a position where I basically like took on the role of a wife at 15 until he and Karen got married when I was 16. And then once Karen came into the picture, I don't think Karen knew any of what had gone on as far as like me and my dad's relationship. But once Karen came into the picture, it was like my role was done. And so I was forgotten about. I literally moved into my mom's house to live with her when I was 17. And he didn't even know. He didn't even know I had moved out. And then when I graduated high school, I came over a couple days before my graduation just to like let him know when the ceremony was and stuff like that. And he had a moving truck in the yard, and he wasn't going to tell me that he was leaving because he didn't want me to tell my mom. He was just going to move to Oklahoma and not tell me.
It's just such poor like communication and the lines being blurred of putting too much responsibility on your kids and not knowing what's appropriate or what's inappropriate. As kids, they treated us like their friends. Like we are secret keepers. We're their best friend. We're their Gilmore Girls situation, but that's not healthy. It's not healthy at all. There's a lot of parental manipulation, and I don't think that people talk about that enough, that parents manipulate their kids, and it's so easy to do that because of the blind faith that kids have I'm supposed to listen to you. I'm supposed to want to be there for you. I'm supposed to want what's best for you. So if you're telling me and confiding in me, it almost makes that child feel kind of favorited, kind of special, like, my parents is telling me a secret. Like, and 100%. When my dad would take me on these car rides and like share these moments with me, and he told me his whole life story,
And he introduced Karen to me in this super romantic way of like, they had lost each other and now they were finding each other. And this was his soulmate. And like, I very much felt like we have this special bond. We have this special connection. He used to call me his twin. And at the time I was like, yeah, I'm so much closer to him than anyone else in his life. I am his special daughter. And it's like, as an adult, it's almost like,
I wanted to be a kid.
Yeah,
I needed to be a kid, and you took that from me.
Yeah.
Well, part of the point of this channel isn't necessarily to call anyone out and be like, this person was wrong and here's why, but it is definitely to shed some light on things that just are not talked about. Like, in today's day and age, when you have family problems, everything is swept under the rug. You keep that in your family. It's your family problems. You don't go talk about it. You don't react. And we're kind of together being like, no, I'm not just gonna sit here and have all these skeletons in my closet and all these monsters under my bed and go through life blindly, not knowing, where did my low self-esteem come from? Where did my dependency come from? And be hush-hush about it. This is where it came from.
Yeah. And it doesn't, I mean, at least for my case, it doesn't mean that I don't love my dad. It
Oh,
doesn't,
no.
It doesn't mean that I don't want a relationship with him. It's just I'm not going to quiet my truth to make it more comfortable.
But, okay, so you've elaborated on kind of where you were at going in and the backstory. How do you think it was when we got there?
So let's walk through getting there. So we get there, it's like 1 a.m. because we just came from dinner in Arkansas with her dad. So it's like a 4-hour drive to Tulsa. We walk in, it's 1 a.m. We just drove from Michigan yesterday. Got there at 4 a.m., woke up early, went to lunch with her mom, went to dinner with her dad. It's been a long, emotional day. And both of us are just like, we even said in the car, like, we're not doing anything, right? Like, we literally can
We're just going to bed.
I was like, you're not showering, I'm not showering, we're just going to bed, we're going to shower in the morning. Like, we were just like, okay, like, we're on the same wavelength. Like, we just want a bed. I'm not expecting them to be awake at 1 a.m.
And it's not wrong that they were. It's kind of sweet that they were up. Like, that's not the problem.
It was like, we were so done with the day. So we get there. They're both like, hi, how are you? How are you doing? We miss you. Ah!
Southern hospitality in your face.
Which is, again, so awesome. Like, honestly, I'm so glad that we were greeted that way because, you know, we didn't have those warm greetings from your parents. So it was kind of like after such a rough day to have just people wrap you up and just like, you know, love on you for a minute. It was nice. It was nice. So then, you know, we're kind of expecting them to be like, here's the bed, go to bed. No, we took a whole tour, a whole tour. And you guys have to know, my dad loves history. So this tour was not just like, here's the bathroom, here's the bedroom. It's, here's the bathroom, here's this antique that we found at this place when we were doing this, and this is how old it is, and this is where it came from, and this is what they used to use it for, and that's why it's cool. Every piece in his house.
The frustrating part of it comes from when you haven't seen somebody for 6 years, and also you spent the day in kind of an emotional, the last thing you want to hear is about somebody's collection of stuff.
Right. So there was that was the thing. There was no like, oh my gosh, like, what are you doing? How was your
drive?
Yeah, how was your drive?
1 a.m.
There was no like, what classes are you taking? I know that you're going into nursing school. Like,
I know the year all the guns in his house were made.
Yeah.
Distributed.
Yeah.
Who shot them. Who they killed.
So, like, we wake up in the morning and I'm expecting, like, okay, you know, he was just excited for me to be there and see everything. He wanted to show me all the stuff. That's fine. You know, my dad is that kind of way where he is really proud of these things that he's found. You know, he's proud of the history. That's awesome. I've always appreciated that my dad finds value in things that other people have kind of thrown away. What bothered me was that I can tell you all the history of every item in his house, but he didn't once ask, how my classes were going. I was even doing homework while I was there. And instead of asking me about my class, he fought with me about feminism.
The way that I viewed everything, I had never met him. I've heard stories about him. It's funny, we've been friends for so long, but we've never met each other's dads, and our dads live so close, and I don't know, that's just funny to me. But he just, if you weren't impressed by him, you didn't like him.
Yeah.
If you didn't ooh and ah at everything he showed you, the countless, and when I say countless, the countless things he showed us, if you weren't super...
You didn't ask questions.
If you weren't obsessed with it as much as he was, he took it as a personal rejection.
Yeah, like...
So it's not, from my point of view, my perspective, it wasn't so much that he was showing this stuff to us, but he didn't care to know as much about Becca as he did where his antiques were from. How do you feel as a growing up like that and being a kid and now an adult and seeing that your dad has such this big interest in all these things in his home, but you're not a thing in his home? You haven't seen him in 6 years, and he knows more about this lampshade than what's going on in your life.
Yeah, and I mean, all the questions that were asked to me were from my stepmom. I had a deeper conversation with her than I did with my dad. She stayed up the first night. And I think it's because Karen and I do that. Like, when we get to see each other, we have like a one-on-one deep conversation. And we stayed up until like 2, 3 in the morning talking about life. And ultimately, we talked about one of the things that I really wish that I had gotten to talk to my dad about and didn't, because it was so awkward. Neither one of us felt that we could bring anything up that was any kind of deep conversation. And like, Karen and I had a whole conversation about how there was a family member that abused me for years as a child. And my dad knew. And not only did my dad know, but my dad knew that it was me. He knew that it was other people that it was happening to. And he didn't do anything. He didn't take us out of the situation. He didn't take this person out of the situation. He just left it.
Well, it goes back to, if no one outside of your family knows, then no one knows. And therefore, we don't have to think about it, much less talk about it.
Because they didn't stop it. It continued for a long time. And no one did anything. And, you know, I have to deal with that with my relationship with my mom. And, you know, her and I will have to have those conversations. But at the end of the day, like, my dad knew, and he didn't do anything. And not only did he not do anything, he made excuses to other people that were being hurt in this situation. And Karen and I talked about this, and not my dad.
It's the frustration of, there's so much to unpack. There's so much to talk about. And instead of talking about it, we're tiptoeing around everything else. But at the end of the day, he still wants to be considered this very impressive person. And
well, and I guess one of the other things that was really hard, and my mom mentioned to me one time that my dad would pit me and my sister against each other. And I was like, I can see it. But I always in the back of my head was like, yeah, but Sarah and I just never really got along. No, I saw it so bad on this trip. My dad would bring up like, well, you've beat Sarah. You came down here twice and she hasn't even been here once. And I'm just like, why did that matter? Like, why did that need to be mentioned? I'm not trying to beat Sarah.
yeah.
Like, maybe you should ask yourself why.
Well, that would involve self-reflecting, and we don't do that here.
And then, you know, the guilt trip of like, oh, well, it's been so long since I've seen you. And I did kind of clap back in that moment. And I was just like, yeah, well, you could have come up to Michigan too.
I was proud of you.
And he just fell silent. And I don't say all this to just, you know, beat up on my dad. My dad is a good person. My dad wants to love me. I just think that he doesn't know how to do that. I am sick of feeling like I have to keep everyone's secrets. This is my story. This is your story. We are allowed to tell our stories.
If your truth gets found out because somebody else refuses to keep your secrets, you deserve it.
Yeah. Well, and it's not in a like aggressive way. Like, we're trying to be respectful while telling our stories, but it is our story and it's our truth to tell.
So you never had the conversation with your dad, but where are things now and where are things going?
So, I mean, I texted my dad when we got home and I haven't really talked to him since then, but that was yesterday. So not a huge thing. We usually go a few months without talking. But my therapist suggested trying to have a more intentional conversation. Just be more upfront about my frustrations, my hurts. Just be more assertive about them. Be able to say, we've had an entire conversation about what's going on in your life and you haven't asked once what's going on in mine. Or, I'm not going to feel guilty that you haven't come to visit me.
So you think you have a strong, I don't want to say wall, but a strong guard up to refuse any of his manipulation or guilt.
It's like a boundary. It's just a boundary for myself to say, I'm not going to feel guilty for living my life. And I'm not going to feel guilty as long as I am contributing to the relationship the way that I want to.
So all in all, it's a work in progress on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And a work in progress to have a healthy relationship, but that's the desired outcome.
Yeah, and I think there will be some hard conversations that'll definitely happen within, the next 6 months-ish.
So you don't regret the trip? You think it was a success for what you needed it for?
I don't regret the trip. I mean, I absolutely loved getting to have you meet my parents. I feel like we said it in the updates, but like, you got to see the other half of me, someone that highly influenced my life. And I don't regret that at all. I don't regret getting to explore with you and go on a road trip with you at all. Do I regret some of the things that happened? I regret not having the balls to have the conversations that I wanted to have with my dad. So we go in and both of us are like, we need the bathroom. Like, we need to pee. So we literally like find the restroom sign and beeline to the restrooms. And this whole time, Rachel's dad is texting her.
I have no idea because I'm power walking. I was trying not to see him. I was like looking down and then I realized I have green hair. So even if I'm looking down, everyone can see me. There's that girl. She's walking fast with green hair. I wonder where she's going. And I get to the bathroom and I'm just like, okay, take a second to breathe. I check my phone and there's a text from my dad that says, do you have green hair? And I was like, cover equals blown right now. Cool self. And so I just kind of, my heart just kind of sank, and it was this realization that, like, my dad is not a good person. My dad's never been a good person. That's the end of the story. He just sucks. He's never known how to be a parent to me. He's hated me from day one. It's been no secret. I've heard numerous stories of things that I can't remember because I was an infant of just him not liking me. And from as far back as I can remember, I have stories to back those stories up. If something went wrong, it was me. Doesn't matter if it was the weather, doesn't matter if it was the election, doesn't matter if it was something that happened at work, it was my fault.
Yeah.
And I had this realization of I just drove across the country to put myself back in the lion's den. Why did I do this? And then not having time to answer that question. And I just...
Yeah, because we're, like, in the bathroom, and he's here. Like...
Yeah.
There's no...
We
I
can't regret
bail.
this. Let's go.
Yeah, like, we can't bail.
I thought about it. But my green hair... So we walk out, and I don't even know how to describe my father to you.
I mean,
He's wearing a floor-length trench coat.
Yeah.
In Walmart.
With
After his shift.
Yeah, like with his Walmart vest on. And I was just surprised because Rachel's the kind of person who, like, Rachel showers every day. Rachel does her hair every day. Like, Rachel takes care of herself. And so I'm just like, how did you come from a man who looks like he hasn't showered in 8 weeks?
Very unkept.
Yeah.
Very just not, doesn't put effort because he doesn't care about what he looks like. And so I approach him cautiously, and I don't even remember the first thing that I said, but I know that he told me that I had 2 people that I had to see. And I remember thinking, what does it take for my parents to say hi?
Yeah, neither one of them were like, hi, Rachel, and like hug them or like even try.
Nice
and
to
like,
see you.
Yeah, like nothing. How was your drive?
No.
Nothing.
So he takes me over to his coworker who I've met maybe twice. And I stand in front of this dude, and he looks up and he's like, whoa. And I'm like, yeah, I aged 7 years. And my dad's back here like, I know. And I'm just like, yeah, I aged 7 years. Like, I dress myself now, and I care about my appearance. But it felt kind of like a bro thing. Like the coworker was like, whoa. I mean, I was like, I know. Like, and like something that my dad could show off. He didn't really care that I was there to see him. He was there to kind of exalt himself.
Like, I did this. I made this.
Yeah.
Look, she came down to see me.
Haven't taken care of her in 10 years, but look what I did.
Yeah, and it's like, none of this is you.
And I'm just like, this was all me. Thank you. We get up at the service desk, and I don't know why I'm there. And he just hands me money. And I was like, okay. And then he pulls out even more money. And he's like, I'll give you more after dinner. I never asked for this.
Yeah.
I never insinuated that I needed it. And I kind of put my hand out to take it, and he makes a comment about my nails. And what? Like, my nails?
He kept insisting they were fake. Like, she was being a fake person.
I don't have fake nails.
But I have fake nails, and he didn't say anything. He did not comment on my nails. He did not belittle me for it. But if Rachel...
My nails are going to break, and I was wearing a Pink Floyd shirt. Oh, yeah? Name 3 songs by Pink Floyd. I'm like, can I get a hello? Can I get an anything? Like, everything is a snide comment. Yeah. Everything is just dripping with sarcasm, and I'm like, you should not be making the comments you're saying while wearing a trench coat. It's weird. Stop. We get to the restaurant, and I go in, and he's not there. And I put our names down, and it was a very small hallway that we had to kind of wait in. And he comes in, and he shouts over everybody, so can you name 3 Pink Floyd songs yet? And I'm just so done at this point that I turn around and I'm like, no, I have nothing to prove to you. I kept feeling like I was in the way, so I moved out of line to get out of the way, and I hear my dad start talking to Becca and saying these, like, nice things about me, about how I am a very nice person. And one of the things that he says is that Rachel is beautiful. She is beautiful, and she knows that she's beautiful. But if you were to be in a room talking to Rachel and the lights go out, she would give you more reasons to want to continue talking to her. Which is a really wordy way to say that there's more to me than a pretty face.
Yeah.
If you have ever asked a woman what the worst backhanded compliment to receive is, it's that. Oh, you're not just a pretty face. Well, thank you. I already knew that. Good thing you caught up.
Yeah.
And to hear it from your dad is just...
No, and not even
told.
No, to have him tell me. And I'm just sitting here like, yeah, I know. That's why she's my best friend. Like, I love her brain.
and I don't know. And he just did this over and over. And then if I would, walk back and become part of the conversation, it again was, did you break a nail on this trip? Have you come up with a song yet? I began thinking that my dad didn't know how to talk to me unless he was yelling at me, unless he was in a bad mood and he needed somebody to take it out on. Mind you, this is the guy that my dad's crazy. My dad once called the cops on me because I wouldn't get out of his chair. And now we're sitting down. Yeah, you didn't know that, did you?
No.
And now we're sitting down to dinner and we're both adults and he can't call the cops about the chair I'm sitting in. He can't, tell me that I'm worthless for 6 hours. He can't call my friends and tell them not to be friends with me. These are things I experienced as a child. Now seeing this man as an adult and him knowing that you can't break me anymore. You can't take anything away from me. He didn't even know what to say.
Yeah.
There's no relationship there. There's no conversation. So it was just kind of like there just wasn't anything to talk about. So instead of talking to me, he talked to Becca.
Which was not like a parent getting to know your friend. It was very creepy. Like, it's hard to explain it, but it's just the way he is. Like, I literally texted Rachel while he was talking to me, and I was just like, this is so uncomfortable. Like, the way he's asking me questions, the way that he is talking to me makes me feel like he's looking at me not as a friend of his daughter who's the same age, but as someone he's trying to flirt with.
Yeah.
It was so uncomfortable.
He has a bad victim complex. He told me multiple times, like, he didn't find himself attractive. He didn't think he was worth anything. He understands why my mom left. And I repetitively was like, why are we talking about mom?
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about mom. I just had dinner with mom. I don't want to talk about mom. Let's move on. He couldn't ask me anything about me at all. Went on to learn about Becca.
Yeah.
Went on to learn what she was doing in her life. Found out, her relationship status and her classes and her major. And
Yeah.
I was shocked that there was a depth to us. And then went on to tell her that I have depth to me. And out of the 3 kids, I'm the one who has the most depth. And I just remember being like, but you don't know anything about me. You couldn't tell me anything new about me, and you sure haven't asked. You can write a book about Becca. And just the self-deprecating need to talk about my mom, and the need to tell Becca that I'm worth something, but not do anything to make me feel that. The main point is that if you have an abusive parent and you see them after a while and you're not somebody that they can take advantage of or abuse anymore, you quickly learn that there's not much left. And while it's heartbreaking, it's very, you finally, at least
It's like you can breathe.
You get to know now that to this guy you're not important, but it's really fine because it's not like he's somebody you need to be important to anymore. And I walked away feeling very like this day sucked. Yeah. It was so bad, but it was so needed. So I walk away not having a relationship with either parent, and I feel better. This isn't the ending that I wanted. It's honestly not the ending that I thought I was gonna get, but it's what happened, and I'm strong enough to accept that answer and to move forward. And it's a lot of weight that I didn't know I was carrying lifted.
Well, and you deserve to be chosen. Like, you deserve...
I do deserve to be chosen.
You deserve for the people in your life to love you back the way that you love, because you love so unapologetically and freely and deeply.
Yeah.
So that was our trip.
Glad it's over.
It wasn't the trip we expected, but it's the trip we
got.
No, I mean, all in all, I think that we grew closer as friends. We got to learn a lot about each other. You know, I think we have a different perspective on each other.
I think for me, my takeaway from this trip is that it's nice to see, it's not nice, it's necessary to see that your parents are just adults who also don't know what they're doing. They're also adults dealing with their hurt. And when you're an adult, you're able to kind of pinpoint when other adults want you to think they have it together and they don't. Like, I'm pumped more than I am brokenhearted.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good place to be.
Yeah. Like, on the ride home, we're digesting. And I think that the ride home was really difficult for us because both of us were trying to process whilst also doing a 17-hour drive.
And I'm trying to give you guys, like, fun updates and stuff. We weren't in a fun place.
No.
We did our best.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm really glad that we got to do this trip together.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you know, when you go through something difficult with your best friend, it doesn't take the pain away, but it makes it easier to have someone you can break down in front of. And also to have someone who will look at you and be like, you can cry. It's okay. Because we have so many other trips planned and so many other things that we're working on. And so it's like, okay, I can't go on hard trips with her. Cool. So that's kind of where this channel is going to go, is that it's kind of our personal, like, vlog, journal, video thing. It's therapeutic for us, but also we are trying to kind of be that voice for somebody who doesn't have one. Or somebody who sees it and they're like, wow, that sounds like me. And I never was able to put an emotion with the way that I feel, or, oh, that I understand where they're coming from. I feel the same thing. And, like, she grew up religious, and I'm gay. So that's a pretty wide spectrum there in of itself.
But, like, we have a trip planned that you guys don't know about yet, and we will be dropping hints, so keep an eye out for those. But we have a trip plan coming up that is all about fun, but there's still good growth going on. Like, there's still emotions that we're going to be going through, and we're not going to be shy about sharing them. So that's where we will leave you guys. Definitely hit that like button and subscribe, because we will be putting out more videos probably next week.
Yep.
So we have another trip planned, and we will start dropping hints for you guys. Check our Facebooks if you're friends with us on Facebook. We will put some on Rachel's Instagram, which we'll link down below. And
all of our social media will link below, because we, even if it's not a video, we'll post an update or something, or just...
Yeah. So definitely keep an eye out. We want to be able to interact with you guys as much as possible. So other than that, thank you guys for watching so much. I hope that our stories meant something to you guys. I hope that you enjoyed getting to know us a little bit deeper on that level. And I hope to see you in our next video.
All right.
Bye.